Are you ready to uncover the reality of Switzerland's controversial cooperation with Nazi Germany? A relationship long obscured by Switzerland's image of neutrality. World War II, a time when Europe was consumed by conflict, millions of lives were lost, and cities were reduced to rubble. As the continent was ravaged by the relentless machinery of war, a small nation nestled among the Alps stood in absolute silence. Switzerland. Official history portrays it as an island of peace, protected from the horrors of war by its neutral status. However, this safety was built upon a reality that remained unacknowledged for decades. Switzerland's ability to avoid invasion and large-scale destruction was no miracle. It was the result of a calculated and deeply problematic partnership. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, the Swiss government's immediate response was to reaffirm its tradition of neutrality. For a nation whose neutrality had been internationally recognized since 1815, this was more than a policy. It was a national identity. But neutrality is not merely declared, it is tested under pressure. By June 1940, the landscape of Europe had shifted. With the fall of France, Switzerland found itself almost entirely encircled by Nazi Germany and its ally, Italy. A small country was now effectively landlocked within territory controlled by the Axis powers. It was at this critical moment that the Swiss administration made a series of choices that would help ensure the country's survival, but at a staggering moral cost. The core of this relationship lay within the vaults of the Swiss National Bank. Throughout the war, Switzerland became the primary clearinghouse for Nazi gold. The origins of this wealth, moved from Berlin to Bern, were devastating. Much of it consisted of plundered reserves from the central banks of occupied nations. Even more troubling was the victim gold, jewelry and personal effects seized from those in concentration camps. This gold was melted down, stamped with the Nazi insignia, and funneled through Switzerland to provide the Third Reich with the foreign currency it desperately needed to sustain its war effort. The Bergier Commission, established in the late 1990s, later confirmed that Swiss officials were largely aware, or should have been, of exactly where this gold was coming from. Switzerland provided more than just financial services. It offered the logistical and industrial support necessary to keep the German war machine running. The Alpine railways were the safest transit routes for shipments between Germany and Italy, and Swiss factories continued to supply the Nazi military with high-precision machinery, optical instruments, and ammunition. Commercial ties remained robust, even as the rest of the world was at war. However, the most tragic chapter of this history took place at the borders. Jewish refugees, fleeing certain death, sought sanctuary in the Swiss mountains. Yet, many found the gates closed. In a grim historical detail, Swiss officials actually suggested the use of a distinctive J stamp on Jewish passports to make refugees easier to identify and turn away. During the war, approximately 30,000 Jews were denied entry, returning them to the mercy of the Nazi regime. Why did this happen? Historians point to several factors: the existential fear of a Nazi invasion, the immense economic profits gained from the partnership, and a degree of ideological sympathy or xenophobia within the Swiss establishment. For decades, Switzerland maintained a narrative of heroism and resistance. It wasn't until the mid-1990s, when the heirs of Holocaust victims sought access to dormant accounts in Swiss banks, that a true reckoning began. Under intense international pressure, the bank's defenses crumbled. The $1.25 billion settlement in 1998 and the subsequent findings of the Bergier Commission marked Switzerland's most painful confrontation with its own past. Switzerland's wartime story remains a powerful reminder that neutrality is not always the same as innocence. In moments of mass suffering, silence can carry a moral cost of its own. History remembers not only the battles fought, but also the compromises made in the name of survival.